ahead and start.
I don't know where he got it.
Where, he had it made.
I one time I had was knocked him out, I took it on time.
Why did I get hijacked?
Ready? Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. Would you kindly take the roll call?
Sure. Commissioner Duffy,
Present.
Commissioner Page is absent, Commissioner Stevens. Here. Commissioner Trezza
Here.
as acting chairman as well, Commissioner Villapudua.
Here.
Vice Chairman Barquette is absent, as well as Chairman Sawyer. But you do have 4 commissioners present. It does constitute a quorum.
Okay. Follow the agenda?
Yep.
Okay. So at this time, we're going to present employee service awards.
No,
No,
don't do that. Sorry.
sorry about that.
Missed that one.
Okay, we have the consent calendar. Are there any items on the consent calendar that need to be considered separately? If not, we'll take a motion.
Public comments.
Oh, sorry, public comment on the consent calendar? There being none, we'll take a motion.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Passed. Thank you. Okay, agenda item 5, presentation on vacancies, recruitments, et cetera.
Cassandra's going to present this one for us.
Okay, hello. Today I am reporting on the status of vacancies, recruitment, and retention efforts for fiscal year 25-26 for, oh, thank you. Okay, start over. Okay. Today I'm reporting on the status of vacancies, recruitment, and retention efforts for fiscal year 25-26 for the port. Next slide. We will review the background on AB 2561, bargaining unit specific information, which will be vacancy information, and additional information district-wide for non-represented admin recruitment, overall vacancy and turnover, and recruitment and retention efforts. Next slide. So last year, AB 2561, which is the body of law that governs collective bargaining and labor relations at the local government level in California, modified the MMBA. And what we are required to do now as a local public agency is to hold a public meeting before the governing body at least once per fiscal year, present the status of vacancies, recruitment, and retention efforts, hold a presentation to the governing body prior to adopting an annual budget during the fiscal year. Number 2, if we have a 20% or higher vacancy rate in a bargaining unit, we must hold a public hearing to present additional information. And this is only upon request from the bargaining unit. 3, if the bargaining unit so desires after we meet that threshold, they can also request to make presentations during the public hearing as well. Next slide. So, Port of Stockton, we have 2 separate bargaining units. The first is Operating Engineers Local 3, Operating Engineers Union Local 3. We call them OE3. And they represent our port police sworn officers and PSTs, our police support technicians. There are 24 budgeted positions within the unit, we have 0 openings at this time, and there is a 0% vacancy rate. We also have our International Longshore and Warehouse Union, or Local 6, skilled staff. They are port skill workers and general laborers. There are 21 budgeted positions. At this time, there are 4 openings, and it creates a 19% vacancy rate. And because the vacancy rate for both of the units fall below the required 20%, there's no additional reporting requirements at this time. Okay. So now we get to the non-represented administrative staff. So for fiscal year 25-26, there were 3 new positions approved in the budget, and they were risk manager, administrative assistant, real estate, and financial analyst. We filled 8 full-time positions during the fiscal year, 3 of them being new and some of them being replacement. This included the chief of police, risk manager, administrative assistant real estate associate, commercial manager, HR technician, financial analyst, and a director of engineering and facilities. As of June 15, the overall vacancy rate for the Stockton Port District is 6%, but, oh no, that's correct, is 6% as relates to positions approved for recruitment. Now, you may see positions in the budget that have not been approved for recruitment yet. Sometimes positions are built in, and as strategic, planning happens throughout the year, the executive team, they decide when a position becomes vacant, and then HR will take it from there to fill the position. So this figure, this 6%, is based on the full-time equivalent positions in the operating budget and that have currently been approved for recruitment. So that's the only ones we're reporting on at this time. So positions approved during the budgeting process are not considered vacancies until approved by the executive team, which I just mentioned. And there are currently 105 full-time equivalent employees at the port. So here is the turnover data for the last 3 fiscal years. And so our last fiscal year, we had an 8.5% turnover rate. We had 8 new hires and 9 terminations. For 24-25, there was a 20% turnover rate because we had a cessation of warehouse operations. So if we don't include the layoffs, we had an 8% turnover rate. And in 23-24, we had a 6% turnover rate. So turnover over the last 3 years has remained between 6 to 8.5 if we don't include the layoffs. The highest turnover factors have been staff retirements, layoffs, and varied voluntary reasons. Next slide. So what are we doing for recruitment and retention efforts? AB 2561 requires us to identify any necessary changes to policies, procedures, and recruitment activities that may lead to hiring obstacles. We have not identified any necessary changes to policies and procedures that may present any obstacles at this time. But we do continue to take proactive steps in support of recruitment and retention. Some of these are listed on the following slides. What are we doing? I know that everyone's concerned about time to fill when we have an open position. So we are actively, trying to fill positions as quickly as we can. And we're trying new things in HR. So Port HR staff is working to reduce recruitment time to fill. We've expanded the use of NeoGov in fiscal year 25-26. They've got exciting tools that we can use to really, entice qualified candidates. So we've been utilizing that more and more. And this year, we will be implementing surveys to collect input from new hires and hiring managers about their recruitment experience and ways to improve the process. Another thing we do is before anyone's hired, we review the job classifications, but we've also been undergoing a class and comp study, and all of the jobs were looked at, so HR has been a big part of that process, and all of the jobs will have a final updated description by the end of fiscal year 27. Now, when we start to recruit for a job, we also advertise on industry-specific job boards and social media. These job boards include local ILWU, the Building Trades Councils, Post Commission. We collaborate with Public Affairs Department for a larger social media presence, and we post on our tenant jobs board. We offer competitive wages and benefits, so external salary survey comparisons for all new positions are done prior to commencement of recruitment activities. Cost of living adjustments are based on CPI and additional statistic comparisons. So, before budget every year, we take a look at all of that data. We have an annual review. I'm sorry, my voice is nervous, but we have an annual review of employee benefit offerings. We have flexible work schedules. We have hybrid work arrangements, and we have labor bargaining in good faith. That's all I have to report. Any questions?
Any questions from the commission?
So we just ask that you accept the report.
Any public comments? If not, we'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the report.
All in favor? Aye. Moved. Thank you.
You said the clicker up there.
Yeah,
I'm going to do that from down here, so.
yeah.
Okay, Kirk.
Okay, ready for the next one?
Yep.
Okay, so this is consideration of possible approval to adopt the 2026-27, operating budget for fiscal year. We're also going to do the admin salary schedule and the capital improvement plan, but we'll do one at a time, right? Okay, so you guys get me for this one. Okay, so we made a few general assumptions that we typically do when going through the budget. COLA this year is 3.5% for admin salary. This is based on CPIU for the Pacific region. This was the May number, which came out June 10th. Represented employees and groups, represented employee groups, their increases were based on their annual contracts. Benefit expenses are aligned with actuals. What we did here, this is a little bit different this year. We trued up benefits, so you'll see some swings when we look at salary and benefits. You may have some individual departments where they may have gone down, may have gone up. So we put the benefits to the individual people as opposed to how it was done in the past. So this was a basic true-up. So when you look at certain groups, different departments, like I said, you typically would see a salary and benefit. You might see an increase. You may even see a decrease this year just because those shifted to the actual people as opposed to the departments. Revenue projections are conservative. Expenses have built in minimal contingency in anticipation of unknown cost. This is budget speak for we tend to underestimate revenue and overestimate expenses. We tried to really not do that this year. We took a really good hard look from a revenue perspective at potential commodities that we would be seeing. We saw pretty consistent across the board from what we saw last year. Real estate's going to be really close with what's budgeted. Same thing with our utility. As far as expenses go, we try to do that zero-based. So instead of just modifying from what we did the year prior, we tried to look at every expense as from starting from zero and what do we think it's actually going to cost us this year. So hopefully we get a little more accurate this year. And then some of the issues we had with coding concerns were remedied this year through Tyler and through the accounting department making those adjustments. Total operating revenue for this next fiscal year is $66,317,700. Terminal revenue, that's maritime revenue, is in line with what was projected for year end. Real estate and utility we put together, it's down 4%. Real estate is down 6%, and then electric utility is up 4%. We're seeing the real estate revenue down slightly just because of Stockton Soda and the UP Rail. So we did lose some pretty large yearly rental amounts. And then from the utility, we're going to see an increase in public purpose funds. Other revenue has not changed from year-end projections. Total operating expenses are $56,088,720. This is primarily due to an increase in salary benefits and professional services we're going to see this year. So our earnings before depreciation is just over $8.3 million. Source of funding from the terminal side, just under 21 million. Real estate is just under 43 million. Indirect of 650, which primarily fuel, and non-operating income of 1.8 million. So that gives our just over 66 million in revenue. And then this gives you the sources. This stays fairly consistent. Salaries, professional services, depreciation are obviously the biggest expenditures we have. That 71,130,320 includes obviously the 13 million depreciation expenses and then the other non-operating expenses. Okay, we'll run through each department. Maritime revenue, just under 21 million with operating expenses of just over 7.5 million. Revenue is down 3% from year-end projections, from current year-end projections. Expenses are down 10%. We did see salary and benefits increase. Stevedore expenses are aligned with the budget we had last year, but they're going to be a little bit lower than year-end projections, 18%. And then work comp insurance and those costs were redirected to risk management, so that took down the operating expenses as well. So our overall net operating income for Maritime is 8.6 million. This is an increase of 6% year over year. And that does include, for the divisions or departments, we included the operating depreciation, where we did in the overall numbers. Real estate, our operating revenue is just over 33 million, and our expenses are just over 4.5 million. Our revenues decreased 6% from year-end projections. As I mentioned, we've lost some Stockton Soda and UP Rail. The operating expenses have increased 24%. Salary and benefits had a significant increase. As I mentioned, that's because we trued up where those costs went. Net operating income is 25 million, and this is a 13% decrease from year-end projections. Electric utility, it's pretty consistent with this year. Our revenue is just over 9.6 million with our OpEx just over 8 million. This is a 4% increase over this year's current projections. We're anticipating the public purpose fund increase of $234,000. Salaries and benefits, we did increase that, so our operating expense increased 5%. We reallocated some personnel and their salary and benefit cost into electric utility. Net operating income is just over $1 million for the year. And now we'll go to the indirect, the non-revenue generating departments. So executive, our overall operating expense will decrease by 3%, or just over $83,000. The expenses here, we did see a slight increase in professional services and port promotions, but we did shift insurance and utilities, so that's where we did see that decrease. Admin services, operating expenses increased 9%, or just $59,000. We shifted the insurance and utilities there as well. We consolidated some miscellaneous expenses as well. Human resources, their operating expenses increased by 1%, 6,000, so very nominal. IT, we see a pretty significant operating expense increase, 28% from year-end projections. This is primarily due to the IT needs assessment that we're working through right now, and also certain maintenance agreements that were grant funded or no longer grant funded. Risk management, we have increase of 11%, primarily due to insurance costs and some professional services. Finance, Operating expenses increased 2%, so nominal amount there, primarily due to contracts that we're working through the Tyler system and the PACE program. We have had required some additional training, so it's a little higher this year than it was projected for year end. And then Port Police, we did see a decrease in operating expense of 4% from this year's projections. Facilities and maintenance, operating expense increase of 17%, just over 1.4 million, primarily due to professional services. We added some additional engineering consulting services as well as landscape and vegetation management services. We've increased the miscellaneous expense also by $404,000, primarily due to fuel costs. And we've put in a buffer for anticipated emergency repairs, which is something we looked at historically. So that's where that number's based on. Environmental operating expense increased 19%. This is due to increased costs associated with some professional services related to remediation and permitting and development of additional dredging placement sites. Governmental affairs was seeing an increase of 34%, primarily due to salary and benefits being realigned into that department. Grants, we saw an operating expense decrease of 14% or $100,000. Public affairs, an increase to 38%. That was due to professional service, so we're updating the website, and I believe we also realigned some salary benefits into that department. That is it for the budget. Any questions?
Looks good.
Yes, ma'am.
Any public comments or questions? If not, we'll take a motion to,
I'll make a motion to accept the report,
I think you want to
approve the report.
right, approve the budget.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, capital improvement plans next.
Nope, do the salary schedules. Approve
Oh.
the salary schedules.
Okay, so the salary schedule's in the agenda packet. I don't have a slide for that.
Yeah, there's no slide, it's
Okay.
just they've already received.
Okay, so we need to look at consideration and possible approval to adopt the 26-27 admin salary schedule, which you have in your package. So it would be under tab 7.
I don't see any place where it shows a change. Do you have anything showing a change?
In the
Those are
salary
the
schedule,
new
that was
ones.
based on the 3.5
Just based on-
CPIU, yes, sir.
So it's all the way down.
Yes.
That's their proposed.
Any questions from the commission?
I'll make the motion.
Hold on, ask for public comments first.
Any public comment on this schedule, salary schedule? If not, we'll take the motion.
I'll make the motion. Everybody's dead in here today. Come on. A little bit of energy, please.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Moved. Okay, Cal.
Okay, so next we'll look at the capital improvement plan for fiscal year 26-27. Okay.
Yeah.
So when we looked at this, we asked ourselves a couple of questions. Is it a port priority, and is it a critical need? If it's critical need, it's probably a priority. Is the project feasible, and do we have the capacity to complete it? And do we have the funding? Is it identified? Is it still available? And what level of unrestricted cash can be utilized without jeopardizing our cash flow in an emergency? So our 5-year plan is 26 fiscal year 26 through 2030, includes infrastructure improvements totaling nearly $239 million. The capital improvement plan for the next fiscal year, 26-27, is $79,044,775. $492,000 of this is for equipment, vehicles, I'm sorry, and equipment, they're maintenance vehicles, police vehicles. So when we look at funding sources of this, general capital, which is unrestricted cash, $21,406,270. Grant funding of just over $57 million primarily EPA Clean Ports grant and some PIDP money, and then general purpose, $0 is unfunded. When you look at years, the next fiscal year and then the following fiscal year, the numbers are a little bit higher because we do have the EPA Clean Ports, the rail infrastructure, which is the dual tracking, and the rail hardening. So those numbers are a little bit higher.
The grant funding's already, like, you know for sure you have it.
Yes, yeah. So we have PIDP 2022, which is for rail hardening. We have PFIP, which is a state funding for the dual track, and then the
PA.
EPA Clean Ports grant. Yeah. These are the projects by category. Environmental, the vast majority of that is Clean Ports. So that is solar equipment, and then everything else runs down. Rail infrastructure, rail is infrastructure, obviously hardening, dual tracking, that'll push forward into the next fiscal year and the year after that as well. So cash flow, our projected beginning balance, July 1st will be $41,852,947. Our net annual operating income before depreciation is just over $8.3 million. Our proposed capital improvement plan is just under $22 million. Our total debt service is $3.8 million. And then other funds, 1.5, just over 1.5 million. These are rent credits, capital expense, other contributions. So our ending unrestricted cash, what we anticipate next year, next June 30th, is $26,089,585, which is 167 days of cash. That's below our policy and what we're looking for. There's a couple things here. That's assuming we get to everything, which would be great if we could. It's a pretty big assumption, though. The other thing that it doesn't include, and Bill and I have talked about this, it doesn't include any interest earned on our unrestricted cash. So we're going to audit that and see what we think that number will be, and we'll probably do, we'll put that in, and then we'll update you guys on that at a later date. So that will increase by a few days, but I do think by the end of the year, if we get to everything, obviously this is where we're going to be. But that would be a, I wouldn't say a stretch, we hope to do that. But we'll update you as the year goes where we're looking, where we're going to be projected cash-wise. So we want to keep it above 180 if we can. Any questions on the CIP?
If not, any public comments? Take a motion.
I have one question, sorry.
Good.
So this year that just ended, how did you guys do, like, as far as what you projected to do?
Well, let's see.
In there? I see
Yeah,
it.
we,
How close were you? That's what I want to know. Oh, I see it.
I think we ended up spending just over 12 million. And do you know, Jason, or anybody, what we budgeted? I don't recall what it was. I can find out for you, but
I mean, were you,
we were under.
okay.
I think we were probably closer to about 21 million. We ended up doing about 12 to 13
And then
million.
does it get pushed into this coming year?
The projects?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a chance this year, we think, and that's why we're a little more aggressive to make all this happen. We have the funding, we have the ability to do it, so we're hoping that we want to get close to that number, obviously. You know, we don't want to spend all our unrestricted cash, but we need, these projects we need to do. So we're hoping that we take a better bite out of it this year.
Do I have a motion?
I motion to accept the capital improvement plan.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Moved. All right, Kirk, do you want to do the,
We got one more. This is not mine, but Rod, go ahead. Oh, sorry. Okay, so this is consideration of possible approval of authorizing the Port Director to execute a master services agreement with 15 engineering firms to provide on-call professional and engineering services on an as-needed basis for a 3-year term with 2 one-year extensions.
Okay, thanks, Kirk. Good afternoon. Rod Uwashta, Director of Engineering and Facilities. So what we're requesting today is for the board to authorize the port director to execute this master services agreement with the attached list of vendors to provide on-call professional and engineering services on an as-needed basis over a 3-year term with 2 one-year extensions. So the background to this is that we are a very small engineering and facilities department. We need ongoing professional and engineering services to support our operations and regulatory compliance. Right now, we're obtaining services through individual or separate contracts, and it's a time-consuming process. It's a 4-week RFP selection, and then another Port Commission meeting, and if we miss it, it could be about a 12-week process, 10 to 12-week process. This master services agreement structure allows us to create the standardized framework for future service contracts. We can define scope, pricing, and performance expectation of each of our consultants. We'll have consistent terms for confidentiality, liability, and dispute resolution. And it allows us to provide flexibility to adjust services as operational needs change. So we started this back at the beginning of the year. We had a networking event. We had about 60 folks show up. I was only planning on about 40, so we were going to use the Lindley House. When we got 60, we ended up having to get a bigger tent to house everybody. We issued the RFP March 11th, had the pre-proposal conference, which I believe was mandatory, on March 24th. We had 20 organizations showing up to express interest. And then we had 15 proposals, which were all deemed responsive and responsible. And you can see the consultants, the prime consultants who proposed. And you'll note that 4 of those prime consultants are from Stockton. Okay, so I'm not expecting anybody to read this, but this is just kind of the heat chart of the teams that proposed. We had about 40 different engineering disciplines that we are thinking that we may need over the course of the contract. We broke it up into primary, secondary, and tertiary categories. You can see that every column or every cell with an X is a discipline that the team said that they can perform for us. So you can see about 6 of these teams had a majority of the disciplines. They're larger firms. There are the remaining firms are specialty contractors or fairly small who didn't team with large consultants. But the larger consultants who have most of the coverage are Black & Veatch, COE, GHD, HDR, JMA, and Moffitt & Nichol. And just kind of a map of where all the sub-consultants are. We had 64 unique sub-consultants. So out of these 15 teams, I think there was a lot of overlap in sub-consultants. But of those 64, we've got 11 who have offices in Stockton. We've got 18 who have offices within 40 miles of Stockton, so Lodi, Modesto. And then 62 are within 100 miles of Stockton. The other 2 sub-consultants are located in Southern California. So the benefit to the port is that we want these agreements to improve responsiveness, maintain consistency in service and delivery, and support the port's ongoing operational and capital projects needs on a timely basis. The example projects that we're thinking of: capital improvement and infrastructure projects, facility design and construction support, construction management and inspection services, utility and drainage-related projects, and other engineering and technical support services as required. So these master service agreements don't commit funds by themselves. We're going to do informal bids with, when we think that projects are going to be greater than, or the cost of a task is going to be greater than $150,000. We'll have to come back to the commission for approval and describe what's going on. Let's see. And we're estimating total annual expenditure of about $1.5 million for this, for the task. And it's mostly funded by capital projects. So, I think this is the last slide. We're recommending that the commission authorize the port director to execute a master service agreement for on-call engineering services on an as-needed basis for a term of 3 years with 2 one-year extensions upon mutual consent. Yeah,
So have you done this before? Or is this like a new thing?
this is a new thing for Stockton. I did this when I was at the Port of San Francisco 3 times.
And just like in simplified things, like, how does it help us? It just helps you guys move faster?
Yes,
Okay. And so you don't have to bring everything in front of the commissioners
yes.
for approval?
Unless the scope of work is, we think, greater, yeah, yeah.
Any other questions
Thanks.
from the commission?
They
Public
maybe you said the
comment?
other night.
If there's no,
Second.
all in favor?
Oh, thank you.
Just real quick, we can go back, Margaret, the numbers you're asking on the CIP. So last year, we budgeted 23.8 million, and we spent 13.3 million.
So why is that? Is that because we couldn't do it, or we didn't, or you guys couldn't do it, or you didn't have the money? Like, what, was it labor? Was it,
It's a little bit of everything, probably. Timing.
I mean, that's almost half.
Yeah, I think a lot of what we did was rail related, I believe. And we just haven't been able to get to that. And with Stockton Soda shutting down, that kind of pushed back our timing as well. We weren't in such a rush to get that done with that delaying. So we do have some time constraints this next fiscal year, though, on when we have to get things done. So that's why we pushed that number up to 21 million.
So do you think, like, what percentage of that was the Stockton Soda, the rail? Because it's like 10 million, right?
Probably, it was 10 million. It was, just the, if you just look at the rail hardening, that was probably, that's a $16 million project, so 9.6 funded, so that was at least 6 million there. So I would say the vast majority, probably 70% of that was Stockton Soda.
Is there any benefit to, like, if you guys reach your capital improvements, like, early, on time, or anything like that?
No.
But you're asking the questions in the right vein, because we should be better on execution from what we're projecting to what we're actually doing. And that's
And-
something that's been bettered every year, but it's not moving as quickly as it should.
And this, what Rod just spoke about here, will help us get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything that Rod's doing is going to help us get to where we need to be, because these are all things we need to do.
Yep.
And we've needed to do
Make it
for a
easier.
while.
Yes, make it easier.
So, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so next,
Sorry, Rod, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
oh, no, I'm done.
Okay,
It's already been acted.
But I have another,
okay, sorry.
yes.
We're on number 10 now.
Shafa, can we get the other presentation?
There's no other presentation.
I don't have anything on my
Oh.
agenda. No, Rod, that was just for consent if they brought it up.
Oh, the East Sewer?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's already approved, you're good.
Okay.
Giving
well,
it to you, bro.
Thank you.
Did such a
Thank
good
you.
job.
That's in case they pull it from consent, so we're good.
Thank you, Rod. So we're on committees, right?
Yes, committee
Are there any committee reports?
You're the only one.
Well, what is the name of the committee for energy?
Energy ad hoc.
Energy ad hoc. Energy Ad Hoc met once since our last meeting, and we're working diligently to start planning out where we're going, and we'll have a report next board meeting.
Good.
Who's on that?
Alan and Anthony are also sitting on with myself.
And then I have a question. I don't have a committee report. But, so like, the budget committee and all that, does that change each year? Okay,
Yeah. So the chairman determines who's on which committee each year.
okay.
So the Budget Committee met briefly to go through a second round of budget review, and we came up with a few amendments, which Kurt talked about, which will add to the budget, which will make it a little more accurate and a little better.
And when does, like, is that once a year, your whole salary thing and everything? Is it always-
It's,
Is that the budget committee?
No, that's the performance evaluation ad hoc.
but it's a
Is that like
four-year
September?
contract, so it's
Oh.
that, but still, there's a performance
Right.
eval will happen.
The chairman at the last meeting said July 20th he wanted to start it, so.
And the goal is to have it done before September, right?
in September,
I mean, yeah, I think his goal is to have it done
July.
July 20th, but
Okay.
yeah, it's going to be a little different this year, I think.
Like, faster or slower?
Knowing Alan, probably faster.
Okay, that's good,
That's his intent.
yeah.
Any other reports? Kirk, you have any port director comments?
Just one. So we had our fundraising golf tournament last Monday for Boggs Track, and it went very well. I've gotten good feedback on it. We had good support from the community, tenants, commissioners. Miguel and Anthony Allen played, and you guys didn't win, did you?
Did not win, we took, I think we took third or fourth, I want to say. Okay.
So really good turnout, and it's a great event. It makes really great money for the community, and props to the Employee Association for putting that together.
Can you guys get like local media to promote that after the fact? Like how much money was raised, where it went?
I don't know if we can get local, I mean, we can do it on our social media and things like that. I don't know, local media might be, I mean, there's a charity golf tournament every week, so, but we can look into it, yeah.
Any commission comments? Do we have any public comments on non-agenda items? Mayor, do I have to read this?
Go ahead.
On behalf of the Stockton Port District Board of Commissioners, may I take the opportunity to mention that the commission welcomes any member, be patient, of the public to speak during board meetings. Public comments should be directed to the chairman of the board and should be related to items that fall within the jurisdiction of the port. It is requested that the speakers identify themselves by name. Please complete a comment form that is on the podium for this purpose. Also, each speaker will be given 3 minutes for comments. As a courtesy, after 2 minutes, the speaker will be advised by Melanie, I think, that their comments should be concluded within 1 minute. Now it's your turn, Mayor.
I'm filling out my form. Okay. First of all, thank you so much, Acting Chair and Commissioners, Director, Attorney, Clerk, everybody in the audience. Happy to be here. I was at the golf tournament. I played in the golf tournament. I did win something, but it was legit. I got it closest to the pin on hole 15 for the ladies. But it was, I would say it was a perfect day for golf. We got burnt even though it was overcast. Some of us, actually my whole crew did. But the money going to the folks in Boggs Track, knowing that they have been, marginalized for decades. Any help that we can provide to them, I think, is important. That used to be part of my district, District 5, before the redistricting. And Edible Schoolyard, I know all the folks out there for that, and I've done some cleanups with Jeff And like I said, I can't say enough about the fact that the port is a good neighbor and wants to work with the surrounding community. That is so important. I also wanted to let it be known, I had met the CEO of STV as well as the senior vice president, and they are people that are with energy and data centers and whatnot, but had a really good meeting with them last week, and we did talk about some port-related as well as city-related, what we can do in order to do, especially energy generation that we know we could probably use more of. But I'd be happy to share that with the Energy Committee whenever the time is right for that. But other than that, I would say that's probably it. Glad you guys have your budget, 3% lower. I'm sure you guys will make up for it during the year. If not, it's on the session, closed session, but I'm looking forward to hearing the results of closed session. So, with that,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we having closed session? Okay, we're going into closed session. In accordance with the Ralph M. Brown Act, an executive session will be conducted pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8.
In 1845, when Charles Weber acquired a 49,000-acre parcel from his luckless business partner in exchange for paying off his grocery bill, he couldn't have anticipated what awaited him 3 years later.
During the gold rush, Argonauts could come to Stockton en route to what were known as the Southern Mines. But the principal artery for transportation and the fastest way to travel was via water.
There was no Stockton in those early days. There was Charles Weber's tent town on the San Joaquin River that served as a jumping-off point for the gold fields.
He realized that the San Joaquin River was going to be the principal aid in developing his city, and Charles Weber was able to attract enough business people to establish hotels and restaurants and freight companies, and they would cater to the wants and needs of the miners. Those who did not make their fortune, in many instances, had been farmers in their previous lives. And coming back into Stockton or Sacramento, took a look around the Central Valley and realized there was great agricultural potential.
We're in San Joaquin County. This is the most productive agricultural area really in the world. You grow corn, wheat, almonds, walnuts, fruit, a whole host of different commodities feeding the world. You couldn't have the unique agricultural environment we have without the river. That is what allowed this state to turn from a gold mining state, if you will, to a food state.
California's Central Valley is blessed with the best soil there is. Back then, the problem was less about growing the food than it was getting it to market. Without a statewide railroad system or even decent roads, Stockton was in a strategic position to be a hub, connecting the valley by river to San Francisco.
From gold rush days, riverboats carried passengers and cargo on a daily basis between Stockton, Sacramento, and San Francisco.
With the Central Pacific Railroad's completion of a branch line in 1869, connecting Stockton with the Transcontinental Railroad, the city's vision as a trade and transportation hub began to materialize. Except for one critical issue.
There were rather tortuous waterways leading from San Francisco to Stockton, weaving and turning through the islands. And because of hydraulic mining, there was a lot of sedimentation of these river areas, and so it was becoming rather shallow.
In addition, ships were getting larger with deeper drafts, leaving the river's shallow depth a barrier to ocean-going vessels. If the region was going to grow with the times, it had to tame the twisting passage through the delta. Even though no single individual gets credit for proposing a dredged shipping channel, it was Lieutenant Colonel Barton Stone Alexander who drew up the plan in 1870 that showed it was feasible.
They kind of choked at the projected $8 million price tag of such a ship canal. And so it continued to be a festering problem for the city of Stockton, being cut off from that ocean-going transportation.
Other countries hungered for California products, not just grains, nuts, and cotton, but manufactured goods too. The opportunity for trade was undeniable.
When a product moves and how it moves is all dependent on where the destination is. The ship behind me is actually loading rice that's going to Japan. Rice would not be able to get to Japan if it didn't use port facilities, because it doesn't make economic sense to ship the kind of tonnage that one ship can hold in another way, like, say, maybe in an aircraft.
Stockton's residents remained convinced their future lay in a navigable ship channel. So in 1925, they passed a $3 million bond toward its construction. The state and feds later added more funds that finally set the project in motion. Work began in 1930. Dredges began removing millions of cubic yards of river bottom. Clamshell dredges piled the mud and rock to make levees that formed the new channel, opening acres of delta islands for farmland. Despite the Great Depression and Hitler's rise in Germany, in Stockton, church bells rang and automobile horns blared. It was 1933, and more than 1,000 people celebrated the arrival of the Daisy Gray, the first deep draft vessel to arrive at Stockton's new port using the new channel. It was the start of a new era.
The local responsibility was to develop the facilities. So they developed the docks, the warehousing, the rail connection, many of which we're actually still using today. In my opinion, rail facilities are just as important to the success of a port as a dock.
Central California Traction Company has been in business for more than 100 years. We are a small railroad that basically does all the railroad switching on the Port of Stockton, and we're going all day long. We get rail cars from two major railroads, Burlington Northern and Union Pacific, and we get those cars, separate them all out, take them to the customers, let them unload them or load them, and then take them back and give them to those Class 1 railroads. The port is a busy place, and they've got ships coming in, they've got trucks coming in, and if we didn't have the railroad here, you wouldn't be able to get enough trucks in over the road infrastructure that they have.
When the United States mobilized to fight in World War II, Stockton's port facility became an integral part of the war effort. The United States Army took over the Port of Stockton, and it became the largest vehicle and parts consignment center in the entire United States. The harbor overflowed with 10,000 workers, loading merchant vessels and assembling as many as 125 ships for the war effort, from tugs to minesweepers.
In 1944, the United States Navy took over what was known as Rough and Ready Island and turned it into a naval complex. And the Navy held on to this area up until the year 2000, when Rough and Ready Island and all of its developments were turned over to the Port of Stockton.
Rough and Ready Island tripled the size of the port overnight. It added warehousing and open land that the Port of Stockton never had before. The acquisition really helped us to be able to provide additional space for tenants to develop their own projects.
Yara North America chose this location for its central location in the valley. We were able to lease a piece of the land here and build this facility and move our operation from another location that was less profitable and less convenient, so to speak. Keeps us competitive, keeps our costs down, and keeps us profitable, which is really what we're all about.
The presence of global companies reflects the port's role in world commerce. Cargo crossing the docks has grown 176% in less than 10 years, making the Port of Stockton the fourth busiest port in California.
I've seen the port get extremely busy. I was working when there would be maybe one ship every 2-3 weeks. Now we have 2-3 ships every day coming in. It's just booming.
While the port is responsive to world markets and international trade trends, it's also tied to the local community with a responsibility to its neighbors.
Today, the port supports more than 10,000 jobs, what I like to call family wage jobs, to become a major part of the economic foundation of Stockton and the greater San Joaquin County area. The port actually makes a major contribution through tax revenues that go into every facet of every service that's provided by the city of Stockton or San Joaquin County.
The port absolutely is part of the community. The waterway is not just only our ship channel. It is part of the Delta, it is part of the Pacific Flyway, it is a recreation area, it is a fishery. One of the latest commitments the port has made is we have joined the Green Marine program. It looks at how ports and how maritime operations are being handled to reduce your impacts on the environment. At Antioch Dunes National Wildlife Refuge, we are working to restore the habitat for 3 species by placing sand material that comes out of our dredging each year.
Go ahead.
Okay. The Port Commission took no formal reportable action during the closed session. Meeting adjourned.